Hi everybody. Am I audible to all of you? Please give me. Oh, you guys are audible. Please let me know. Am I audible? Okay. So we have 9 candidates here. Akash, Amit, Faiz, Sahil, Samarth. Okay. Okay. Are more going to join in, or shall we start? Shall we start with your queries and questions and Manav as well? Are more people going to join in? If you know. Okay, Sakshi, sorry, Damini, can we do one thing since the count is not more? Uh, let's make an interactive session that we allow them to unmute and then instead of just typing, have a conversation. I think that can be a good idea. Okay, okay, guys. So let me start. I'll start with the names that as it appears in the participant list. So let me start with Akash. So I would like to, because this kind of guest lecture will not be covering topics related to data science Python, but still if you have any question regarding industry or maybe anything related to this field going on, maybe what happens after, you just can put the questions and I'll help you. I'll try to answer those questions the best. Okay. So let us start with you, Akansh. So I'm unmute. Shall I unmute you, Akansh? Just please let me know. Uh, some suggestions about resume. Okay. Let me unmute you. Okay. I think I cannot do Akansh. Okay. Anything else apart from resume part which you want me? Okay, you have some issues with the mic. Okay. Anything apart from the resume part, Akansh? I'll go one by one with everybody. Okay. Let me start then. Let me share my screen and let us start some of the tips which can be. Yes, I'll put like yeah, I'll anything else, Akansh? Can you apply for job with what we have? Yeah, I'll take care of that as well. Yes, in the type of job search, I'll kind of go end to end. Okay. Apart from that, like this is what is Akansh asking Amit and everybody. Like you can let's come to you, Amit. So apart like what you just gave me one suggestion. Apart from that, show on resume, like if you suggest some good projects to show. Yeah, I'll cover that in resume part. Okay, I'll cover that in resume part. Everything end to end. Um, anything else, Akansh? Okay, coming on to you, Amit. Shall I unmute you, Amit? Or maybe I think I unmute you. I don't have the rights. Okay, but yeah, you can just let me know in the chat on what things you want to. Uh, what things you want to be like, what things you want to discuss, or maybe you want to get an idea about. You can put it in the chat window, Amit. Amit, anything apart from, you just asked one thing, apart from that, do you have anything, Amit, which you want to ask? Okay, coming on to you, Faiz. Faiz, do you have any questions to ask, like anything which you want to be that should be discussed? Anything from your end? When will be going to resume our offline session? This is something I'm not sure about. It will be as per the Delhi government instruction summit, because they are the authorities who asked to, or who asked to close, or who asked to reopen. So not like, yeah. Okay, Faiz, coming on to you, Faiz. Do you have any questions? Anything which you want me to discuss, Faiz? You can just type chat window, Faiz. Any jobs with search require a minimum of 2 years of experience? Yeah, I'll guess it happens. Yes. Yeah, I'll kind of help you with this. I'll try, and what can we do? Um, mhm. How do freshers tackle that? I'll kind of come on to that point as well. It is there. That's a good thing. Like, we can have an internship. Yes. Okay. Definitely, if you're getting an option for an internship, like, because what they want is, they would prefer people having industry experience. So if you get an option to have an internship, then why not always go for it? Because it will count on in a kind of experience part on your resume. So if you're getting a chance, then definitely go for it. Otherwise, we'll see how can we enter the pool. How can we try to enter the pool where just experienced people are asked. Then how can we enter the pool? We'll talk about that as well. Where to search for internship? It's all online platform, Amit. It's all online job pages, or maybe you just have to search. And what is the ideal duration time? And it's not up to us, Akansh. It is, let's say, if an organization has open internships, let's say for a year, so that is not we decide. They are already predefined internships, like a 6 month internship, 3 month, 1 month, 2 months. So it's not decided by us. It's just like a job opening, and they just let you know what do we want, what do we expect, and for how long it is going to be. Go for, see, more. Let's say if you don't have a job offer with you, then why not to go for a 6 month? That is going to give you more learning curve. That is going to give you more of an experience on your resume as compared to a 3 month. So this is, see, consider internships like similar to your jobs. On jobs you get paid, on internship at times you don't get paid. This is the only difference. But internship as well, you kind of get to learn the similar things. They also ask you to do the similar projects or contribute. So definitely go for the internship. If you don't have a job offer right now, then 6 months, if even if they're asking for 7 to 8 months, uh, you can. Damini, please accept Rupika's request. She is waiting in the room to join. Okay. Any more questions? Like we have, like apart from resume and job search, because a couple of questions, whatever possible scenarios are there in these two things, I'll cover them. Apart from that, anything else which you think should be also talked about or should also be discussed apart from these two, because I'll cover all the aspects of these two things.
Good morning, ma'am. Manav.
Hi, Manav.
So, ma'am, the first thing I want to ask, ma'am, on which online resources can we practice to, ma'am, can we practice, or which courses online, apart from the articles learning the program, we should take or consider taking or doing like hackathons or something like that, so that we can have better knowledge and better chances of cracking the interview. And ma'am, second thing I want to ask, how should we decide the field, like data analysis, data science, or data engineering? That which field should we go in?
Yes, that comes under this. I'll talk about it.
Okay,
But
ma'am.
yeah,
And
the question. Sorry.
yes, ma'am. And the third thing, ma'am, I want to ask you, ma'am, about is, ma'am, how to make online contributions. That is something that I am hearing everywhere, but I don't know how to do it.
Online contributions and your practice comes under the same page. Your hacker rank, you see different competitions ongoing. You have hacker rank, you kind of have Kaggle. Although this is a very big platform, don't like we can't expect just to win out, but yes, we kind of can contribute. Okay, and then whatever could you do on Kaggle, just share it over. But again, see, I would they kind of can help, but I would not say they can kind of help, that it will really show that you know how to work, that. So this is kind of will help you to display your work. So share it over your LinkedIn. Okay. After that, you have your hackathons going on, right? The spelling can be wrong, but yeah, you have your hackathons going on. So these are the platform where you can participate, have your online score created, and on top of that, when you practice something, when you give a solution for something, so your hands-on will be automatically done. If you say a concept wise teaching, so I think whatever is taught here, that is sufficient enough. Even if you master that content, that is fine. See, it's like, whatever you should be expert in that. If you know 5 algorithms, you should be expert of those 5 algorithms. So there is no point of just endless learning. Like whatever you have learned, be an expert of that. Okay. And how do you get an expertise of that? When you practice, and let's say, and also you can pick up data set from you. Although you can get data sets from Kaggle, you can get data set from so many other resources. Like you can have your so pick up the dataset from UCI repository and just do hands-on. You can pick up the dataset from Kaggle. See, if you Google, if I show you, let's say dataset, you have so many datasets here. You have so many. So you can just pick up, and also on top of that, not only dataset, you will see people being contributing their solutions to that. Let's say if I am if I am doing a vaccine myth project, or if I'm doing a Twitter edge node, or maybe something else, then you will find couple of solutions for that. Let's say Netflix movies and TV show recommendation. So you have these many codes, you have these many discussions going on. So this will kind of help you to gain knowledge. They also give you a proper problem statement, what they want you to do, what is the data set about, and when you look at the codes, so you have so many people contributing to this problem statement. So if you feel stuck somewhere, or maybe this can also increase your learning curve. You see different approaches which people use, so they will really help. So try, and I would say this is the best platform to learn a lot of things. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So Yeah.
And ma'am, another thing that I want to ask, that there are three fields, and ma'am, there are multiple modules covered in Ematica by learning. So can you please define that if you want to go in this particular role, that these things that these type things should be very clear to you.
As per I know, for Python, it is ML, it is deep learning, and it is NLP, right? Apart from that, you have Hadoop, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You have Hadoop, you have Spark, and anything else, Apache
Ma'am,
Spark. Then you have your Tableau.
Tableau, Power BI,
AI
Excel,
as well.
R language.
Yes, you have R Python for this thing only. R and Python are for your this domain. And then after that you have your SQL. Apart from anything else which is which you study more in your PG batch.
No, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, I'll explain them. This is, I know people, students get a lot of confused that when to go for Hadoop, when to go, so which job type. Yeah, I'll explain that. I'll take care
And
of
ma'am,
that.
also, ma'am, one thing, ma'am, I think there are many students waiting in the room. So, ma'am, please, can you let them in?
Yeah, 4 people. Damini, we have 4 people. Let me see the names.
That's all, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Manav. We have Jaskirat, Rupika, Sahil, Mathur, and Sahil Thakur. Damini, can you please let them in? If I have, okay, I have the option. I think I've been given the presenter, right? I think they are now in. Is anyone else also waiting? No, I think everybody's here. Okay. Okay. Apart from this, yeah, I've got a couple of messages. We have lots of different modules. Okay, focus mainly upon. Okay, I'll cover that. Okay. Anything else from your end that you want to explain this as well? Please let me know. Let me, yes, just put up in the chat window rather than going one by one. Put up your questions in the chat window, which you want me to cover the topics. Guys, can you hear me? Am I audible, guys? Yeah, I didn't get any response. Computer vision. So to narrow down, I just have these 4 questions. Any question? I just want to finish your question list and then I'll start the discussion. Does anyone want to ask anything else? We just have like these 3-4 things to ask. Anything apart from this, which you want to ask?
Ma'am, where should be, ma'am, from where should be, ma'am, prepare or interview questions from, because they are not in the, because they are sometimes not usual questions that you study every day.
No, they are usual questions which you study every day. They're kind of molded, but the content which you study every day, the questions will be asked from same content. So there is nothing coming out of the box. Yeah, but I'll kind of, yes, there are some extra things which I would say you to study. for interview perspective apart from your regular curriculum things. Yeah. Okay. I'll discuss this as well. Anything else, everybody? Then I can start one by one. If not, please let me know yes and no so that I get to know. I'm just waiting for your responses. Yes, please let me know. If no, then just write a no and then I can start one by one. I want everybody to answer. So Amit, don't have any question. Let me pick the names. Akash, do you have Akash? I think you asked your questions. Faiz, do you have questions? Faiz? Jaskirit, do you have any questions? Jaskirit? Manav asked. Rupika, do you have questions? Rupika, do you want to ask anything, Rupika? Okay, Sahil, do you want to ask? Sahil Mathur. Sahil Thakur. Samarth. Okay, so let me start. Wait. Okay, so let's start with resume. So in resume, what I would want you to is the very first thing which I say is just keep your resume to the point and precise, because there is no point of doing your resume, making your resume 2 to 3 pages or 4 pages and putting all your personal details, your address, phone numbers, hobbies, languages known. No point of doing them. So just keep yourself in the recruiter shoe. Let's say, okay, if you are an HR person, you are looking for some technical person. What will you focus on? You will only focus on the technical skill set. You don't want to know the personal details. So why would you want to consume the space on your resume just describing about your hobbies, weaknesses, strength, and all that? If they would want to know, they will ask you. Don't put them in resume and make your resume unnecessarily long. Okay, so what I would say is only put your technical skill set, technical skills in the resume which is needed, because they are what are being looked in your resume. Your technical skill sets, your projects. When I say projects, writing projects in your resume is as important as you're writing your phone number, because using your phone number will connect you, but if you don't write a project, then how do they get to know that have you really worked or not? You just write, I know Python, I know deep learning, I know all this stuff, but how do they verify? On top of that, you put up your certification, but that is not standalone going to. You need to write some projects, you need to. And now the question is, from where does these projects come upon? So you might have done some projects in your curriculum as well. With respect to every topic, you might have been given some data sets and you did them end to end, right? So put them in your resume. Let's say if I take can you name any of your projects which you did in your curriculum? Can you name me so that I can explain how do you write it end to end? Can you tell me the name? House price is house. Don't put house price in resume. I know for learning it is important. COVID data set. Yes, you can use it. So let's say COVID data set is your resume you did. Okay. Now, what was the very first thing? Let's say, as I said, you have to write project, but the question comes in, how do you put? Now, if I ask you, what was the very first thing you do when you start with a project? What is the very first thing you do? No. Okay, let me be more granular. You load the data. Yes, you load the data. And when I say you load the data, you should know the data information. Data information, that is number of records. You should know, because this will be out, and I'm kind of covering your interview questions also here, mixed, because it is coming along the way. Let's say you write that you did a project on COVID data set. Now You have to write in your resume, and also you have to write in such a way that when the interviewer looks at your project, he has the questions, he's clear what is happening. Okay, you need to write the steps. You loaded the data, and on the step, don't write a paragraph, just be to the point, just paraphrase and be as short as possible. Don't put up so much of this, use the words, just loaded the data set using pandas. So what the main idea is, try to highlight the libraries, because you just say load the data set, how did you load it? So just, and because what are they looking for? They're looking for technical skill set, right? So just say load using pandas, data set was loaded, the data set was in a CSV format, Excel format, and it was loaded using pandas. Getting the point? You come up with the first data, you come up with the first point. Now also, what question, let's say if your resume goes to the interviewer, what question will he ask? He may ask, and I think and mostly people ask you should know what the data was about. When I say information, you should know the number of records, how many records were there, how many features were there, and from let's say what was the size of the data set. So these questions are generally asked. Have you know, let's say if you worked on COVID data set, what was the number of records you deal with? How many records did you work upon in COVID data set? Does anyone remember? How many records were there in COVID data set which you worked? About 80K. How many features? Okay, you should know that. The size of the data set, like how was the data shared to you, or how did you, share it, or from where did you load it? So how big that data was. So these kind of questions will be asked just to verify that have you really done this project or not. So these questions are asked. So always remember, or just you cannot be exact, but have a rough estimate that around, let's say, 15 features, around 50 features, size was around, let's say, this KB or this MB. Just have that a rough idea. Okay, don't be exact, but have a rough idea, and don't say in one go it was 80, in second go 112, and then third go only 50K. Okay, because just, and that will happen when you memorize. Okay, so load the data set and know your data information. This part which I'm underlining is for your interview. Okay, this is for your interview, this is not for your resume. Don't put things on your resume. Don't say the data was having so many records, so many features. No, it is only for the interview part. In your resume, you just have to write you loaded the data set. Okay, now after that, now the second step comes in, you perform EDA. Okay, now in order to perform EDA, what steps do you follow? The second step is you perform EDA. You have to write EDA was performed using, let's say, a visualization, whatever visualization libraries you have used, name them. Whatever pandas, NumPy you have used, name them. If you use some other library, use it. Just put the name. You just have to put the name of libraries which you use for visualization, which you use for importing. Why? Because this is what they're looking for. They want to hear the terms pandas, NumPy, because that is what they're looking for. Okay, if you don't name them yourself, how do we get to know? But it is understood, but for HR it is not. HR does not know. He'll just do kind of matching words, right? If it is pandas there, and I in my job description pandas is there, so words are matching. HR doesn't have technical knowledge, right? And they are the people who shortlist your resume. Okay, getting the point? So now let's say EDA using your libraries, you just have to put this in your resume. Now simultaneously, what can be the interview question about it? Now in the interview question, the horizon is very wide now. What analysis did you come up with? What was the analysis did you come up with? Okay, which features did you do EDA? Which features did you use EDA? Okay, what techniques you use for EDA? Did you make plots? Did you use pandas? Did you use some other thing? Okay, so question can be anything from your EDA. Okay, how did you narrow down? How did you narrow down? Okay, these features I need to do EDA. Getting what I'm trying to say. So you should know each and every small bit of information from your EDA. You should know end to end what was done and why was it done. Even if the interview, let's say, even if the interview says, okay, tell me about EDA, just don't say I did this analysis. Express and just show your information that you know this, you know that, you have done this, you have done that. And see, this is my personal experience. It happens if interview does not like to ask questions again and again. Let's say if I'm asking you a question, if I say, okay, tell me what did you find in your EDA, then if the candidate stops at one point, okay, that I came up with this information in the EDA part, and then I kind of have to ask again. So this kind of comes out to be very annoying, because EDA there is so much to be spoken about. So why do you want the questions to be put again and again and then then answer them? So what I'm trying to say here is, when you are being asked about what information did you come up with, just speak entire thing. If the interview know what did you use, how did you use, what information did you come up with, getting point? So they just want to know how and what, and like why did you do it. Okay, so this is for interview. You should have an end-to-end understanding why the EDA was done, what features did you use, and what techniques did you use to perform EDA, what graphs and what analysis you come up with. So this is the underlying part. As I'm again say, this is for your this is for your interview, and this is for your resume writing. Any question in these two parts? Okay, so be more explicit, just keep on showing your knowledge, you know this, you know that, this, you know that. So because this happens, and this really happened. When you, if I ask you one question and top of that you answer my second simultaneous question yourself, then I kind of know that this person is confident and has a good knowledge. So this gives a kind of positive impact. Okay, how much should we put on resume? Put as many as you can, Amit. More the number of projects, it is kind of describing that you did a good amount of work. So on this I would say, there are very common projects now, like the housing price, Titanic. I know they are for learning, and they should be done because they helps you to learn a lot initially. But don't put the very very common projects, because then why am I saying so? No, don't put two. Put as many as you can. Put as many as you can. And why am I denying to put Boston Housing and your very common resume? Second or other learner will have those projects written in your resume. Sorry, in their resume. So that's why I suggested KL, and the other one is UCI. So when you go to these websites, you will have so many data sets. So why not to pick up from here and then kind of come up with a unique one? Okay, because HR, they kind of daily scrutinize hundreds of resume. So things repeated, they're like, no, this is a very common one. Maybe this is easy to do, so does not give that impact. When you just write, I did Netflix EDA, so this kind of stands out from rest of the resumes. Okay, so just explore the data set on Kaggle, and the other one is UCI. This is also a big basket where you have so many data set for all classification, time series, regression. But in this, you have to see all the data sets are not in the correct format. But yeah, you just have to explore. These are your options given. You want to do a multivariate, bivariate, computer engineering, social science, clustering. Just pick them from here. Okay, and do projects which are kind of not that common. And when I say do, it means you have to do, because if you just try to, let's say, uh, approach you can also use. Let's say if you're short of time, you have a lot of office work to do, or maybe some other work, and you don't get time to do the projects. What I can recommend to you is, but in that case you have to be very smart. Let's say I want to put Netflix EDA project on my resume. So, and I don't have time to do this end to end, but I still want to do. Okay. So on for a particular thing, you will find so many notebooks on Kaggle. So what you can do is you can just go through these notebooks yourself, understand what was the process followed, and when the question comes in, let's say the question comes in, what was the data set about? You can just see it from here and let the interviewer know. Okay. When the question comes in, what did you find in EDA? You can just see the analysis from here and let the interviewer know. Getting the point? Now you're not doing things yourself because you're short of time. You are just using somebody else work, understanding it, and then putting it up. Okay. But you should have a good understanding that if interview kind of tricks a question, you should be able to answer it. Okay. But this is when you are short of time. Otherwise, I would say that do practice yourself, because that will really help you. That will help you to understand the process flow. How do you solve a project end to end? Okay. So put as many projects and perform EDAs like this, and then put them, they are specifically for your resume, sorry, for your interview. In your resume, put the projects, that this is my project, and so on. Okay. Now what is the next step after EDA? They can also like you do a, so you loaded the data set, you did an EDA, and then for resume directly talk about algorithm used and results achieved. Okay. So for your resume, load the data set, you did an EDA and you used this algorithm and you got this result. This is for your resume writing. But along side by side, for the interview question, they'll ask you why this algorithm. Let's say if you have a bucket of algorithm, let's say you have DT, you have RF, and you have logistic regression, and you say I went with random forest. So this is I'm talking about interview. The interview can say, why don't you go with DT? Why don't you go with logistic regression? Why don't you go with KN and other algorithms? You're having so many other algorithms, then why just only this one? So you should have an answer to that why this was opted. And generally the answer comes out to be like, let's say you are given these algorithms. So which one would you prefer? I want to see your answer. Which one would you prefer? If I ask you this question that you use this algorithm, why not others? What would you answer? How do you choose an algorithm? Accuracy was better than the random. Correct. That is going to be because whichever algorithm gives you better answer, better results, you go with that. Okay. So always keep in bucket other algorithms that you tried this and you tried that. Just don't stick to one that okay, I only tried random forest and I did not even try other algorithms, because then that is not justified. Okay. Okay. So and let's say when you say results were better, you say you have written random forest, then the question, conceptual questions will come up, that what is random forest, what is bagging, what is bootstrapping, how does it work, how does it distribute? So anything can be asked from random forest. Okay. So these questions will, if you're writing KNN, they'll ask you what is KNN. And on top of that, they may ask, let's say you answered random forest, now I may ask, now tell me logical regression as well. And let's say they may also ask, let's say what matrices, let's say your results, they'll ask you results, my results were so and so. Now, what are the, let's say if I'm dealing with a classification problem, you have your accuracy, you have your F1 score, precision, right? F1 score, precision, AROC, a couple of other. So they would ask like why F1 score was there. Like, the question of why will be always there. In interview, I'm talking about. They'll ask you, okay, you came up with this answer, you used ACROC. Why not accuracy? Why not precision? Why not recall? Why not something else? Okay. Definitely, they will definitely ask the question. If I was the interviewer, I'll definitely ask, can you explain the working behind of KNN? Can you explain me the working behind of DT? Definitely, they are going to ask. Don't expect that they'll just expect a simple definition of DT No, they would want you to explain end to end. Even if you're dealing with a clustering problem, then they can ask you, even if you're not written in your resume, they can still ask you what is clustering. Explain me end to end. So you should know how an algorithm works in backend. That is mandatory to know. And not only the working behind, you should know couple of features. Don't, let's say random forest, so many features, don't remember all of them, but at least 2 or 3 should be known. Similarly with KNN, what is neighbors KNN, what is number of estimator in DT. So basic parameters should be known with respect to every algorithm along with the working. Just don't give a theory explanation. No, come up with parameter name, come up with the maths behind, come up with the working behind, come up with formulas, and then explain that, okay, you know this much of the concept. Getting the point, everybody? Even if, let's say, you're saying F1 score, you should know what does F1 score talk about, what is the formula for F1 score, and why is it good, why is it not good. So all the why questions should be asked, and all the working behind and maths and formulas should be known to you. Okay, so anything in this one, so you just have to write as many projects as you want, and for each and every project just 2 to 3 or 4 bullet points, and you loaded the data set, you did so and so EDA. Don't write an entire theory on EDA. Just say I performed EDA using Matplotlib, Seaborn, Pandas, NumPy, and SciPy, or maybe some other libraries, whichever you want to put. Okay, and then algorithm, let's say random forest algorithm was used, and let's say AUC ROC curve was used as a final evaluation criteria. Just put the bullet points, and then you should kind of have the extra information when you sit in the front of interviewer, and that what kind of questions will be asked. So you should know the extra details as well. For resume part, only this is sufficient, because as I said, you don't have to make, there is no point of making your resume 2 to 3 page. 1 page of resume is more than enough, or 2 page maximum. So try to be precise in that resume, less number of words, and try to use more of the technical terminologies which they are looking for, stats, numpy, all of that. Okay, any question in these 3 things? Any other thing which you want to ask, like in this room? So this is one project. Similarly, put your second project, third project, fourth project, and as many projects you want, because more the number of projects means as more hands-on you have. So that is kind of good for your profile. Include as many projects, and again I'm repeating, don't put common projects, Boston Housing, Titanic. Just try to pick data sets online and do them, because HRs scrutinize so many resumes, they go through so many resumes, and for freshers most of the time they see these kind of projects written. So don't do that. Okay, and this is, you have to see, you have to take the pain. Don't expect the trainer to, that the trainer did not cover are these projects. Don't blame trainer for that, because trainer taught you how to do that. That was a job of trainer. Now you have to master, right? You have to get an expertise, you have to brush up your skills, and brushing up will be done by you, not by the trainer. Okay, so just don't start blaming the trainer that this was not done, that is not done, why not this, why not that, why Boston Housing. That is a very good project for learning, but you have to brush up, and brushing up can be done by yourself, not by anyone else. Okay. Any other question? If not, then okay, so mostly in resume, it should cover like 80% of your resume should talk about your projects. 80% of your resume, I would say. And before that, I would also want that you should write your technical skill set. That is, scikit-learn, NumPy, pandas, SciPy. So write your technical skill sets. Okay, then write your projects. Okay, also after technical skills, you can write certification, because it kind of validate your projects, it kind of validate your technical skills. It will validate that whatever you have done is you have really done, because you just had a certification, or you had a technical education certifications, or your education. I know most of the people happens to come out from different streams. but that is fine, because then if let's say if you are if you have done your education in a different background, so just put the certification on the top, and then in the very bottom you can put your education. Okay, but let's say if you have done your bachelor's, master's in technical, and then on top of that you have done a certification, then you can put it on the top. Okay, this is when, let's say you are from a civil engineering, or you're from uh, a commerce background, or you're from a humanities background, different backgrounds. Then in case, just put your education, the latest degree, if it is master's, bachelor's, or doctorate, put in the very end. But if it kind of matches what you're doing, then put it in the top. Okay, because why am I saying so? Because you just don't want to stop the recruiter. If you are saying you are coming from a commerce background, you just, or humanities, you just don't want to stop the HR. That okay, this is person is from HR, or sorry, humanities, and now I don't want to, the stream does not match. There is no point of looking at this. So that's why I'm just putting in the very end, so that if the recruiter is convinced with the projects, then this thing does not matter at all. Like, it matters on the paper, but if you are good with the technical skill set, they kind of can adjust with this thing. Okay, if you are from a different background, this is what they are looking for. This is most important. You should be 100% in this thing. Rest of the can be adjusted. Okay, you wrote your technical skills, you wrote your certification, you wrote your projects, and then after that, experience. And I believe most of you are like freshers, or maybe from different streams of job. So put your experience after your projects. If your experience is, let's say, into a different domain, just put highlight that maybe, let's say, 4 years of experience in so and so. Okay, don't put so much of detail, because that detail is only going to resume. It is not going to add to what are they looking for. They are looking for sorry, they're looking for experience in analytics, which you don't have. So there is no point of putting X and Y information about your experience. Just add and highlight, because otherwise they would think that there was a gap. Okay, so just write and highlight experience working in so and so from this year to this year as a your designation, but don't explain your job description. Okay, take that space to put up more and more projects. Getting the point? So this only things should be there in your resume, nothing more, nothing less. No hobbies, no personal address, no languages known, no strong and weak areas, nothing. Only to the point what they're asking for. If they need something else, they'll ask you. Any question in this? If somebody have a gap, that question comes in, how many years of gap? If it is 1 year, you can just say some, education part, you were learning something, or you were not well, or that justified. Now the question comes in, how long the gap was. How long is the gap?
Ma'am, gap as in कि मतलब ma'am, I was working in my family business for 3 to 4 years. That much time of gap I was
Yeah,
not.
just that's not a gap.
मतलब ma'am, I was not in a technical field.
But still, you were doing something, right? You can just
Yes,
say, entrepreneur doing my business. Yeah, people can do, and people can experiment. There's nothing wrong in that. Just put in, like, you were an entrepreneur doing the business. Now you want to get into IT domain because things are getting technical. IT is the future, and now you want to get into this. So that's why.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any question in this? I would say just only pen down your resume to these points. Nothing more, nothing less. Anything which you ask. And also one more thing, 80% of your questions, see, let me also walk you through the interview process, how interviewer will take you. Okay, so let's say you have written 5 projects in your resume. Okay, the very first thing what the interview do is, the very first will be introduce yourself. Okay, so have a good, and just like, no, in this you just have to tell what is the latest education or certifications, and if you're an experienced person, what experience you are, which organization you're working in. Okay, after that, interview will say, walk me through a project. Let's say you have written 5 projects. It's the choice of the interviewer. He may ask like, okay, from these 5, explain me project number 3, explain me project number 1 and project number 3. If, and not necessary that he may end up in only asking of one project, he may ask 2 projects, he may ask all the projects. Okay, this is one scenario where the interviewer is himself saying that explain me this, explain me this. Other scenario could be interviewer will ask you, okay, now explain me any one of your projects. So you should know all these steps. What was now when this is for interview, because you're face to face, or maybe on a telephonic call or maybe a WebEx call. Now you should explain all the things step by step. There should be a structure. You should not start away that I just did ADA, then I go with this result, or maybe this result, this was the result, this is algorithm, and then you kind of, there should be an order. Because how did you start with the problem, how did you proceeded with it, and how did you end it up? So whenever you are walking through a project, because it kind of becomes easy to understand. Okay, if I straight away jump onto the, okay, I use this algorithm, but there are so many things before algorithm which we do. So explain with them as well. So now you're kind of poking interviewer to ask you question. So don't do that. Take yourself through the process flow, so that interview has to ask least amount of questions, and you answer the questions even without asking. Okay, so that is kind of much more a good place to be as a candidate. Okay, so always give a walkthrough step by step. Just don't jump randomly from to 1 and then 1 2 3 and then again step number 2. Go one by one. And let's say if I say I loaded the data set was having these many records, these many features, this was a size, and I did EDA. This was my, before this, you should tell what the problem statement is. Like for interviewer, problem statement. What was the problem statement? Why did you do this project? Or what did you do in this project? After problem statement, then data information. After that, what did you do in EDA? Then feature selection. How did you select the features? What techniques did you use for feature selection? Okay, feature selection, now coming on to algo, and then coming on to results. So it should be proper structured. And anything can come from this problem. Any question can come from this step. Any question can come from this step. So what he'll do is, when you walk the interview through your project, then from all the steps he's going to ask the question. He may ask, okay, tell me, as I said here, what EDA, what algorithm, what results, what feature selection technique. So now the question will come from these options which you will explain to the interviewer. So that's why I'm saying you should know all the answer to all the whys, so that if he has a why question, then you know the answer. So always this is definitely going to happen. Either he or she will ask you to walk through a resume, a project, or you have to you'll be given a choice that explain yourself. Okay, and then this, if you're good in this part, you explain it very well, and after that, now the interview can go to other concepts. Like you kind of used logistic regression here, you were able to answer all the questions. Now he may ask other questions as well, like, now tell me clustering also, tell me this also, tell me that also. Okay, so you should be good in this part, you should be good in this part as well, because it's not justified that what in project you have a very good hands on that, but then other concepts you failed. You should pass on to each and every step. Okay, and then on top of that, it is not always there, like 20-30% organization do this. So they kind of give you problem statement, and when I say problem statement, this is your aptitude. Let's kind of puzzles, problem statement for puzzles. They can give you puzzles right away. They can give you, let's say, or probabilities question, probabilities or permutation and combination questions. Or they can give you any kind of question in which they want to see your problem solving skill. Let's say if I say there was an elephant going with so and so speed, and he was having 10 bananas. Now you tell me how long, or how will you handle the situation, or how long will it take him to come back? Not all the organizations do this, but 20% of the organizations put them as well. Okay, so just always do some preparation for them, because you don't want to get stuck at, you cleared all these things, but now you're getting stuck at this part. You don't want that to happen. Not everybody is going to ask, but they will be, some of the organization will be asking. And also after that, there is other thing, which is your guess estimates question. Guess estimates are also asked. Again, these are only 20% of the organization asking, but when they ask, and if you're not able to solve them, then you just you don't clear the round, and then the process ends up. Getting the point? And now you say, how do we get to these questions? Just Google has answer to everything. But let's say if I ask question, if I can simply say puzzles asked in data scientist interview. Just Google. You will have so many options, and you have so many options. Reach each and every tab, and then you will kind of have an answer, or have a picture that, okay, what things can be asked. Bag of coins, prisoners and hats. They're common, but you just get an idea. Sand timer. This will really help you to understand what kind of questions can be asked and how do you answer them. And similarly, you can just say guess estimates. Guess estimate questions for data scientists. So just go through all the tabs and understand what questions can be asked. And let's say if you're conceptual part, just Google. You see, in this thing, your homework is expected. If you're expecting that everything comes out to be cooked in front of you, that is not going to happen. You have to do some work from yourself. Okay. And one more thing, getting into industry. So I don't know how about you, how you guys are, but I've seen learners are in a habit that if you give them, they are good. But if the point you ask them to do, they start complaining. So if this is your approach, then you are not going to be in a happy place when you get into work, because in industry, nobody is going to help you. Even if you are stuck with an error, generally students come that, okay, ma'am, I'm having this error. Please help me. I cannot move ahead. Don't even try even a single chance. They don't do a single effort to solve that problem. That is fine right now, because you have paid, you are being taught. But this thing will, really put you in a very difficult situation when you get into IT, because they expect answer from you. They're not there to answer you. Okay. So, or if you are into that habit, just stop it right now. If you if you are stuck with a problem, don't go to the trainer. If your curriculum is left, try solving it yourself, because this will help you in your IT job. Okay, you can't poke your managers, you can't poke your colleagues and always come up with questions. They don't want they don't want to answer each and every question. They have so much of work. Okay, so similarly, this should not be there. I know learners do. I don't know about you guys, but if it is there, then stop it. It's not a good thing at all. Okay, now the conceptual questions. Let's say questions about or technical questions. For data scientists. So just have to do your homework yourself. Don't expect anyone else doing it for you. Okay. So there is so much of content available online. If you're not sure what questions can be, 70 data science question. Try answer all of them. What is confusion matrix? What do you understand? So try answer all of the questions. Then you will know in how much effort do you need to make more, where are you standing, and how much, or are you in a good place? Do you think you know all of the questions? If you think you have answered all the questions, then it means you are ready. You know the concepts, you have studied well, and then you can go ahead. But let's say if there are 100 questions and you only were able to answer 10 or 12, then you need to do a lot of hard work. So this will kind of help you to analyze where you are. Okay, so just Google the question. Don't expect neither from your trainer, neither from anybody else that they are going to provide. They will provide, but it's not their responsibility. It is your responsibility. You need a job, they don't need a job. So do your homework yourself. So now I think, do you guys know where do you get these? Okay, concepts, questions can be any and all the question. And I close the tab. If you see here, control, if let's say, let me pick this one. If you see, you will see the questions are what is being taught to you. Assumptions of linear regression is a common question, and this might have been taught to you. What is logistic regression? This is being taught to you. What is difference between this and this? This is being taught to you. So all the conceptual questions will come from what is being taught to you. Nothing extra, nothing out of the box will come in. Okay, everything will be from your syllabus. The questions can be very deep. So if you don't have that deep knowledge, you need to learn it. What is NLP? Give me an example. How do you solve an NLP project? Because you have done NLP or it is there in your curriculum, you should know what is NLP, what kind of problem it says, what is true positive. Questions will come from your syllabus, nothing more, nothing less. The point is how good you are with the concepts. Okay, what is sampling? I know all the topics might not be covered in a syllabus, not possible. So take your responsibility yourself. Okay, this is because this is what everybody should follow. I know you are into a curriculum, but again, you should be responsible for your job, for your learning, not anybody else. If somebody has not covered the topic, or maybe short of time, or if it is not in your syllabus, then do it yourself. You want a job, right? What are type 1, type 2 error? Did you find anything which is not being, which is out of syllabus? Overfitting, underfitting, high bias, low variance. These are your questions from your curriculum. They will be only asked, and if I like the rest of the things, you can just go. Did I stop screen sharing? If rest of the questions are asked, just Google them. That what can be these puzzles, what can be the anything. Just Google them. You will have so much of content to understand and to learn. Okay, but yeah, as I said, not everybody is going to ask, but some of the organizations can also ask these things. So have an idea of them as well. Just I don't want you to land up surprising, okay, that what are they now. Okay, anything in the interview part as well? Whatever you're writing, if you're writing NLP, the questions will come from NLP. If you're writing OpenCV, the questions will come from OpenCV. So write whatever you know, don't write everything. You are writing AWS and you don't know what is AWS, so there is no point of writing that thing. Because what if the interviewer only asks AWS? If he doesn't ask all these things, if he or she is only interested in AWS because it is written in your resume. If you write something, make sure you know it, or if you don't know it, then till the time of interview you study it. Just don't go blank in front of interviewer. Because let's say you wrote AWS, or maybe, and then you wrote OpenCV just to have a good resume, and the day is not good, that's not your day. And the first question comes from AWS, you don't know. The second question comes from OpenCV, you don't know. The third question comes from NLP, you don't know. Interview gets annoyed that the person does not know anything. Let's send it up, because they are also short of time. They don't want to waste energy, right? So if you're writing OpenCV, just don't be blank. Have something. Don't be a master, but at least some knowledge should be there. That you're not just sitting blank in front of interview. That gives you a negative impact, and then it will make null and void all these things. Okay. Getting the point? Any question till this thing? Any question in the resume part, in the interview part? Any question? Please let me know yes, no, maybe, so that I get to know. I'm just not waiting. I have an answer. If you have question, let me know. If not, then also let me know, then I can move on. Am I audible to you guys? Do you have a question, everybody? So shall I assume you guys are good, don't have any questions? Shall I move on to the next thing, which is which type of job to search? If you are clear with resume and interview part. Okay. Now the thing comes in, now which job to search in. Okay, so there are different modules now. See, data science, when I look for a data scientist job, data scientist is this thing. Okay, let me narrow down here. Type of job search and internships. So let me make it as for this. This will kind of answer my question, your question, sorry. If you are into, this is Hadoop Spark. For this, it is not mandate. Okay. Now these are my 3 horizons for job. Okay. Then I see ML, DL, NLP, and if you go for OpenCV, okay, something else, they land up to your data science. And you will not always find a tag of data scientist. Organizations do hire under the tag of data analyst, or they can have a different name. So how do you identify this is the right job to go or not? Just look at the job description. If the job description is talking about R, if it is talking about Python, it is talking about SQL, and SQL is mandatory. Even if you go in this thing, SQL is kind of, a mandate thing at this time. So you should know SQL. If the job description is talking about the terminologies from this, then you are getting into this data scientist and data engineering, data analyst job, not data engineering. But if the job description is talking about Hadoop, if it is talking about your HDFS, if it is talking about pipelines, if it is talking about data lake, okay, your Apache Spark, then it is not data scientist job, it is data engineering. Okay, and this job is completely different from data scientist. Generally organizations, and not generally, this is always happening. We have different team doing this job, we have different teams doing this job. Although one person learn both, learning can be as much, but this job profile is completely different, this job profile is completely different. Now this decision is yours. If you think you're good in Apache, Spark, Hadoop, HDFS pipeline and all that, think you are good in Python, R, and these things, then data scientist is a job for you. So just always look for a job description. Okay. And also you may end up that, oh, the job is only talking about SQL. So that job is neither data scientist, neither data engineering. It is a data analyst, which is purely handling for your data sets. Okay. So you may have these jobs as well. So now decision comes to you where you want to go and where do you think is your skill set. If you're good in this, then go for these jobs. If you're good in this, you go for these jobs. Now there is an option of your Power BI and Tableau. What is this? So these are kind of additional add-ons, you can say. Okay, your Tableau, Power BI, they kind of help you for data visualization. And I think there are jobs, I'm not sure, but there are standalone jobs needing them as well. But I don't know how much they are. But they are kind of added skill set flavors. If you know this also, then it's kind of add-on thing for you. If you know this and if you know this as well or this as well, then that's kind of add-on. I don't know about how standalone Tableau and Power BI jobs are. Definitely there are that they only ask for Tableau and Power BI. And they will be kind of data visualization jobs. And how do you understand? Just look at the job description of any, like whatever job is posted, look at the job description. And if the job description talks about these, then you just can narrow down that which job is being spoken here. Now it's up to you which field you are comfortable in. If you're good with Python, if you're good with R, go for these and so on. Okay. And now I think I already answered the internship question. If you don't have a job offer with you, organizations do hire candidates for internship, and most of the time they don't pay you, but this is not less than an experience, because this there you're working on a real project for customers, and this will really help. You can just put it as in your resume, and then that will not make you a fresher, uh, you know standalone fresher, because you kind of did some work. And as we said, initially it was pointed out, and it happens that most of the jobs ask for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year experience. So how do you tackle that? See, if there is no way to tackle that, only what can be, let's say even if this is a 2 year job, you apply to that. Just don't reframe yourself that they're asking for 2 years, why do I apply? No, fill the bucket of 3 years, apply for a job. If they are very satisfied with your projects, they may give you an interview call. Okay, it happens, but don't refrain yourself. That's why I'm saying put as many projects as you can. Okay, because what is the difference between a fresher and an experienced person? These projects, an experienced person has done couple of projects, he has done couple of on, and if you have also done that, you have that knowledge, then you are all, the only difference comes out, you did it yourself, the other person did it in the industry. This is the only difference. But if you have a lot of projects in your resume, this can help. This is definitely going to help in your resume shortlisting. So apply for 2 to 3 years of job, till the bucket of 3 years. Don't go beyond 3 years. But yeah, if it is a 2 year, 1 year, 3 year, apply for it and put as many projects. If you have 7 to 8 projects in your resume, the resume is heavy. Okay, then based on that, they will give you call. The chances are higher as compared you don't put any projects in your resume. Okay. Any question to us? Are you clear now what type of job to search? Are you clear in this part? And this is a very, students in the initial of their career, they're very confused where to go, which stream to go, because they don't know the difference. So this is a total different job profile. This is a total different job profile. Okay. I think this is already there. Create a LinkedIn profile. Okay. Whatever projects you do, let's say if you choose to do yourself rather than taking inputs from some other's project, from Kaggle or some other platform, if you're doing it yourself, then put them on LinkedIn. Create your Kaggle profile, put them there. And HackerRank and your hackathons, they are kind of, they help you to improve your programming skills. And if you put, say that you have solved 10 projects on Kaggle, you have earned such a badge, or maybe you have this, and but it's very hard. I know these things can be unrealistic. It's hard to get a rank. It's hard, but everything takes time. Okay, so I don't expect anyone, or neither you would also expect that when you just say rank 2 or 3. Nobody wants to put a rank which is into millions or thousand, because that is almost nothing. Why do you want to put that? So it's totally fine if you don't put it in a resume, but you want to brush up your skills, you want to brush up your programming. So using these, you can brush up your programming. Okay, so they can help you to have a good hands-on on R or Python, and like they have questions, they have your projects end to end solve, you have a deadline, and projects which are submitted online, you can put them in your resume. Okay, and data sets can be taken from your repository or from Kaggle. Okay, so it's all up to you now how much you push yourself to do things. Okay, interview is also, I think, I've done. Anything to ask? Anything to ask, like you think which I've not answered, or maybe some other question might have come up through this discussion? HackerRank, let me show you how this platform is. If you're not registered, register it. And also I would say some of the analytics organizations also take a test on this platform. Okay. Oh yeah, sorry, I missed this part. Before interview question, before the interview pops up, okay, before the patient interview, most of the time, I would say 80% of the time, you will be given a coding question. Okay, so they may be on HackerRank, or they may be on Hacker Earth. This is another platform. Or they may be, the data set may be shared to you, and you just have to share your notebooks. Okay, they can be, or maybe some other platform, you know, a company doesn't know where the company has spent it, and it can be on other platform, but these are the most commonly used. There can be other platform. So these are coding questions where you just share, and these are all time bounded. You just given an hour. And also one more thing. Okay, apart from the data shared, you're given a day or a 2 or a 3 to submit your end-to-end solution. But in HackerRank, HackerEarth, or if any other platform where your webcam will be on, your mic will be on, your screen will be monitored. Okay, so here, along with Python questions, these questions will be also there. These questions will be also there. So live screen, and they may ask you puzzle, they may ask you probability question, they may ask you permutation combination question, and also they may ask you pandas numpy question as well. So the question or the project, or sorry, the interview, before interview, this step is always, like, mostly it is there. They will ask you for coding, and they can take you on any platform. Those platform will have such kind of question. If no, the second is they'll share a data set with you. Okay, and that data set, you have an option that, you know, you can share this maybe in a day or 2. And then third can be, let's say if none of them is happening, then what can happen when the interview is there, and in today's time it's on Microsoft Teams, Cisco, or any platform. While putting these questions, then right away they can ask you to share your screen and do live coding. This also happens. Live coding with your camera. Okay, so that's why I'm saying you need to brush up your skills very, very much. And these platforms, the data set, solving them yourself, memorizing them will help you, because this also happens. Live coding is also done. They just, let's say, you know, you're able to see my screen, and you are the interviewer. Just ask me, okay, do this to me. Okay, make these changes. Do this also. So you just cannot ask from, or you just cannot do cheating. So in that case, you should be, you know, sufficient enough that you do it yourself. So either this will happen or this will happen, but a coding test will be there. Like 90% of the time it is there. Very few organizations will be there which just only go for the theoretical part, but 90 or 95% times coding round will be there. And if it is this, it will happen before face-to-face or online interview, because they'll shortlist here itself. If you clear this, then only you go to this part. If they're not doing this, then the online interviewer is going to do this. And on this also, you will have 2 to 3 rounds. It's not going to end up in one round. One person will take again, second person will again go through, third person. So these can be have, you know, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds. 5 to 6 rounds are generally there in an interview. Round 1, round 2, round 3 also can be again technical. Round 4 can also be again technical. And the round 5 comes out to be HR. Okay, so you have to be either choose R. If let's say if you are going into this domain, either choose R, either choose Python. Be good in one. You don't have to be master of both. You will be generally asked which programming language you are good into. If you say Python, they'll put questions from Python, programming questions. If you say you're good in R, they'll put questions from R. Okay, but yeah, you should be expert of one. Then only it's going to land up somewhere. Okay, and let me show you HackerEarth and HackerRank. So as I said, most of the, for companies, so companies do take tests on these platforms. So you can just sign up and practice on these platforms. And similarly, HackerEarth is another, and this is purely, I guess, for hiring. I don't think you can do practice here. Yeah, developers community. Yeah, one word was put up. So, and who was asking the developer? There is no developer job. Python developers job is there, but that is not a data scientist job, neither that is data engineering. If you are good with Python, then you can go as a Python developer as well. But that is now out of this bucket. This is totally out of this bucket. It's just like a Java developer, it's just like a C# developer. So like application developer, this is similar to that. But now this does not okay. So you can go for this if you think your Python is very good. And also if you're going for a developer job, see, usage of Python is kind of limited in these. Usage of Python is limited when you're doing MLDL. So horizon of Python will increase when you go as a developer. So you will be asked for multi-threading, classes, concept. You'll be asked for inheritance. So there are a couple of other concepts will come in the picture when you go as a developer, which are not needed when you're looking into a data science or Python. Somebody asked this, like, I'm not sure who asked it, but are you clear with the question, like when to go with Python developer, but this is not data science? And here Python usage is very much, which is not that much if you're into a data science domain. Python data science is basics. If for a developer, it's end to end, and there is a lot more in Python, which you would need to learn if you go as a developer. So it's totally up to you, like how your skill set is based on that. Okay. Any questions? And SQL is mandate. SQL is mandate. And along with this, yeah, I just forgot this as well. SQL question can also be done. It can be done. Along with all of this, you will have, maybe you will have 4 to 5 questions, or maybe you have 40, 50 questions. But when you have 40, 50 questions, definitely they are there. So they are kind of MCQs, and you will have these questions. So no, it can be anything, but it will be all from what you have studied. The conceptual part, the SQL part, and Pandas, NumPy, and they can be just Google them for what can be the possible questions for them. Okay. Anything to ask, guys? Please let me know if you have any questions which you think you need to ask. And also one more thing, so they may also give a scenario where you have to put ML use case, where you have to, let's say, let me write it down first. Okay, so I might give you a question, and this also happens, not always. Now this is totally proper interviewer's choice, but it also happens that maybe I'm your interviewer, I'll give you a scenario that, okay, I'm having a business, I'm having a construction business, and my business is not working well, or maybe I'm into a stock market, I'm not doing good. So how can you help me through analytics? Getting the point? So they just put you a scenario, and then they will ask you that how your machine learning, how analytics can help me in my business, and how can I grow using your data science. So how do you know now, how do you get this? When you study use cases. When you study use cases of analytics or data science. So for this, you have to Google. When you study 4 to 5 study use cases, you will be kind of, understanding how data science can change the picture. So then it will be easy for you. But if you have never studied any use case, you have never thought of you have never thought in such a way that how analytics can help in this field, then you need to study. So this is optional, but yeah, sometimes it is asked. Let's say if I say analytics in, let's say, construction business. So use cases. How can you implement? So how can you implement data analytics in construction? So simulations, accurate simulations. See, in this, you just have to show that you know what analytics is, you know what kind of thing we can do. You don't have to give an example, you don't know that business, but you can ask questions that, okay, tell me this information as well. And then you can kind of frame a scenario, but yeah, you should be able to, uh, let's say if it is this design issue prediction, I can make a model which can tell me that, okay, this design is going to have an issue. Or construction project risk, what is the risk going to be? I can make a modeling, right? I can make a prediction, I can make an optimization. Okay, I can, just you have to study now, you just have to research, or you just have to, Google what can be the use cases. Accurate budgeting, accurate performance optimization, just have to see what are the use cases in a domain of how analytics can change the picture. So when you go through few of the use cases, then you will be able to answer this. Now you get a picture that how do you frame the scenario, then you will be able to do this as well. But you need to do this without even going through any use case, you will not be able to. Any other question which you want me to answer? Any question, guys? Please let me know if you have. Let's have a break for 10 minutes. Okay. When you can think of all questions if you have, then we can resume the discussion again. Okay. So it is 10:23. We shall resume at 10:33. Is that fine, everybody? Okay. Okay, Samarth. Um, yes, Samarth. Like in this domain, you should know coding. Without Python, R, or SQL coding, like there is no point. Does anyone else have any questions? Are you guys good with, like, if any question, please let me know. Fez is good, Akansh is good. How about others? Like anything which you want to ask? Can you share your mail IDs so that I share this document with you? You would need it. And I think this will help when you do read after a month or two. Can you share your mail IDs one by one? I'll share it over the mail, this Word file. Is anyone here whose mail ID is not written here? Okay. If not, please send me your email ID. I think I've copied all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, all 8. Anyone here, maybe if, any of your friend who has not done the session, or maybe if yes, please send me the mail ID. Otherwise, I'll share this document to all of you. Any question, guys? Like anything? Any questions, or then let's wind up the session if you guys are clear with things. If you don't have any question, please let me know. Akansh doesn't have. Okay, we have lots of different modules and courses. If you just say the best. See, Rupika, that's totally your decision. If I say go with R Python and you think this is your strong area, right? So that you have to figure out in which field you are comfortable, what is your strong area. If you think you're very good into this, then just go for this. If you think you're good into this, just go for this. You cannot be master of both. Like it will take time, but in one single go at this moment, you just cannot be master of both. So focus on one thing. It's good to know other technology. It's very good to know other technology. This kind of widens your horizon. Now now you're allowed to have apply on this job, you're allowed to apply on this job, because you had so many things, but you cannot get into all the things, right? You have to get into only one, and then you have to see where you want to get into. If you're comfortable with R Python programming, go into this. If you're comfortable with Hadoop, Spark, HDFS and all this, then get into this. If you're comfortable with only this, then I'm not sure, like, do we have separately for them? But yeah, there are, but not many. Then look for these opportunities that you have to narrow down as per your skill set and as per your understanding of the domain. Anything else, everybody? Sahil, Samarth, Sahil, Yatin, Rupika, you just asked. Manav, Amit, Faiz. Is there any specific topic? That's what I covered. See, there is no specific topic. Topic is what you write in your resume and what you studied. 50% of the questions or 60% of the questions will come from the project, what you write, EDA, algorithm, working behind. And then apart from that, other concepts can be picked up. It will be all for ML, like whichever domain you're applying, it will be from that, whatever you studied. There is no specific topic that, okay, this will be there, this will not be there. It's up to the interviewer where he takes you. Okay, shall we end up the session then? If you don't have any questions, please give me a confirmation. Akansha is good. I want responses from everybody. This helps me to understand which way should I move ahead then. Rupika is good, Samarth is good. I think most of you guys are good. So let's wind up the session, and I hope this helps. So yeah, just do. There is a lot of still to prepare from your end, but yeah, just tie up your belts and start working. It will take maybe a month or two. If you're good with the concepts already, then a month or two to just be on the top of everything. But yeah, just have to keep pushing yourself constantly. Okay. Okay, then thank you so much and best of luck, guys. Have a bright future. Thank you.